The rain pelted the windshield, each drop a tiny explosion against the glass. As I gripped the steering wheel and cursed under my breath. Somewhere in this sleepy Maine town, my best friend's sister was unraveling, and I was the one sent to pick up the pieces. I didn't sign up for this, not for the storm, not for the drama, and definitely not for the way my heart would betray me. My name's Riley Carter, 28, a graphic designer who'd rather be sketching logos than playing hero. But when Jenna called me last week, her voice cracking over the phone, I couldn't say no. "It's Lily," she'd said. "She's spiraling again. Please, Riley. She trusts you." Lily Harper, Jenna's younger sister, was 25, a wildfire of a woman who'd always been too bright, too fragile, too everything. I'd known her since she was a kid, trailing us in pigtails. But now she was a stranger with a rap sheet and a reputation for breaking hearts. I pulled into the gravel lot of the Rusty Anchor, a dive bar on the edge of Port Haven. Neon lights flickered through the downpour, casting a sickly glow. Lily was inside. Jenna had said. Probably drunk. Probably picking a fight. I cut the engine and sat there, the rain a relentless drumbeat. Why me? I wasn't a therapist. I wasn't even good at feelings. But Jenna was family closer than my own, and Lily was. Lily. Inside, the bar smelled of stale beer and regret. Fishermen hunched over their drinks, their faces weathered like the cliffs outside. I spotted her immediately, Lily, leaning against the jukebox, her long black hair spilling over a faded sweater. She was laughing, but it was the kind of laugh that sounded like a cry. A guy in a flannel shirt was too close, his hand grazing her arm. My stomach twisted. "Lily," I called, my voice cutting through the hum of the bar. Her head snapped up, and those green eyes sharp, reckless, alive, locked onto mine. For a second, the world stopped. Then she smirked, like she'd been expecting me to storm in and ruin her fun. "Riley Carter, my knight in shining denim," she slurred, swaying slightly. The guy stepped back, muttering something, but I ignored him. I crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbing her elbow. "We're leaving," I said, firm but not harsh. She didn't fight me, which was a first. Instead, she leaned into me, her warmth seeping through my jacket. I could smell the whiskey on her breath, mixed with something softer, like lavender. My heart did a stupid flip. Outside, the rain had eased to a drizzle. I guided her to my truck, her steps unsteady. "Jenna sent you, didn't she?" Lily muttered, climbing into the passenger seat. "Always cleaning up my messes." "She's worried about you," I said, starting the engine. "And so am I." She snorted, staring out the window. "Don't waste your energy, Riley. I'm a lost cause." I wanted to argue, to tell her she wasn't, but the words caught in my throat. Lily had always been a storm, beautiful, destructive, impossible to pin down. Growing up, she'd tagged along with Jenna and me, always watching me with those wide, curious eyes. I thought it was hero worship. Now, I wasn't so sure. The drive to my apartment was quiet, the only sound the wipers scraping the windshield. Lily slumped against the door, her breathing uneven. I stole glances at her, at the way her fingers curled into her sweater, at the faint scar above her eyebrow from a fight she wouldn't talk about. She was a puzzle I'd never solved, and part of me was terrified to try. When we got to my place, I helped her inside. My apartment was small, cluttered with sketchbooks and empty coffee mugs, but it was home. Lily collapsed onto the couch, kicking off her boots. "You didn't have to do this," she said, her voice softer now, almost vulnerable. Yeah, I did, I replied, tossing her a blanket. Get some sleep. We'll talk in the morning. She looked at me then. Really looked. And something in her gaze made my chest ache. You're too good, Riley, she whispered. Always have been. I turned away, pretending to busy myself in the kitchen. But her words burned. Good. I was just trying to keep her from falling apart. But as I listened to her breathing slow into sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was the one unraveling. The next morning, sunlight streamed through my window, painting Lily's face in soft gold. She looked peaceful, younger somehow, like the girl I'd known before the world broke her. I made coffee, the gurgle of the machine filling the silence. When she woke, she stretched like a cat, her sweater slipping to reveal a tattoo on her collarbone, a tiny bird. Wings spread. Nice ink, I said, handing her a mug. She touched it absently, her fingers lingering. Got it after I left rehab. Freedom. Or some crap like that. Her laugh was bitter, but her eyes held mine, searching for something I couldn't name. We spent the day talking, really talking for the first time in years. She told me about the bar fights, the bad relationships, the nights she'd spent wondering if she was worth saving. I told her about my own struggles, the way I'd buried myself in work to avoid my empty apartment, my empty heart. It was raw, messy, real. And somewhere in those hours, something shifted. Her hand brushed mine, and I didn't pull away. By evening, we were sitting on my balcony, the ocean a distant murmur. Lily leaned against the railing, her hair catching the wind. You ever think about running away? She asked. Just leaving it all behind. All the time, I admitted. But then I remember the people who need me. She turned, her eyes fierce. What about what you need, Riley? I didn't have an answer. Not then. But as the stars blinked into view, I felt her hand slip into mine. And I knew something was starting, something dangerous, something I couldn't stop. The days after Lily crashed on my couch blurred into a strange, electric rhythm. She didn't leave. And I didn't ask her to. Port Haven seemed to hold its breath, like it knew something was brewing between us, something neither of us was ready to name. Lily was a paradox. 1 minute, she'd be laughing, stealing fries from my plate at the diner, her eyes sparkling like the sea at noon. The next, she'd shut down, her face a mask of old wounds. I wanted to fix her, but I was starting to realize she wasn't a project, she was a person. And maybe I was the one who needed fixing. Jenna called every day, her voice tight with worry. Is she okay? Are you okay? She'd ask. I'd lie, say everything was fine. But it wasn't. Lily was staying, but she wasn't stable. She'd disappear for hours, coming back with smudged eyeliner and stories she wouldn't share. I didn't push, not yet, but every time she walked out my door, my heart clenched. One afternoon, we ended up at the pier. The same one I'd imagined in that vivid moment when I first saw her at the bar. The air was crisp, salted with the ocean's breath. Lily leaned over the railing, her sweater slipping off one shoulder. You ever jump off this thing? She asked, a mischievous glint in her eye. When I was a kid, I said, grinning. Jenna dared me. Nearly broke my neck. She laughed, and it was the kind of sound that could make you believe in second chances. Bet I could do it better, she teased, climbing onto the railing. Lily, don't, I said, my voice sharper than I meant. She froze, looking back at me, and for a moment, I saw the hurt in her eyes. Not from my words, but from something deeper. Something she carried like a bruise. I'm not gonna break, Riley, she said quietly, stepping down. Stop looking at me like I'm glass. I wanted to tell her I wasn't, that I saw her strength, her fire, but the words stuck. Instead, I reached for her hand, and she let me take it. Her fingers were cold, but they fit perfectly in mine. We stood there, the waves crashing below, and I felt like we were balancing on the edge of something bigger than both of us. That night, back at my apartment, things shifted again. We were watching some cheesy rom-com, sharing a bowl of popcorn, when Lily turned to me, her face serious. Why are you doing this, Riley? Why do you keep letting me stay? I opened my mouth, then closed it. The truth was, I didn't know. Or maybe I did. And I was too scared to admit it. Because you're worth it, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes softened, and before I could process it, she leaned in and kissed me. It was soft at first, tentative, like she was testing the waters. Then it deepened, and I was drowning in her taste, her warmth, the way her hands tangled in my hair. When we pulled apart, her eyes were wide, searching mine. Riley, she whispered, this is a bad idea. I know, I said, but I kissed her again anyway. The next week was a whirlwind. We didn't talk about the kiss, but it hung between us, a spark waiting to ignite. Lily started opening up more, telling me about her dreams of being a writer, how she'd scribble poems in the margins of her life. I showed her my sketchbooks, the ones I never let anyone see. We were building something fragile, beautiful, terrifying. But trouble was never far behind. One night, I woke to find Lily gone, her side of the bed cold. My heart sank. I found her on the balcony, smoking a cigarette, her eyes distant. I got a call, she said, not looking at me. My ex. She's in town. I felt like I'd been punched. Your ex. I knew about Mia. The woman who'd left Lily in pieces 2 years ago. The one who'd pushed her into the spiral that landed her in rehab. She wants to talk, Lily said, her voice flat. Says she's changed. And you believe her? I asked, sharper than I meant. Lily's eyes flashed. Don't do that. Don't act like you know me better than I know myself. I'm not, I started. But she cut me off. You don't get it, Riley. You're this perfect person who swoops in to save me. But I'm not some damsel. I've got my own mess to deal with. I wanted to yell, to tell her I wasn't perfect, that I was just as lost as she was. But I didn't. I let her walk back inside, the cigarette burning down to ash between her fingers. The next day, she was gone before I woke up. A note on the counter said, I need to figure this out. Don't hate me. My chest ached, but I didn't chase her. Not yet. I called Jenna instead, my voice shaking as I told her everything, well, almost everything. I left out the kiss, the way my heart was breaking. Give her space, Jenna said, but I could hear the fear in her voice. She always comes back. But what if she didn't? What if Mia pulled her back into that dark place? I sat on my couch, staring at the empty space where Lily's boots used to be, and realized I wasn't just worried about her. I was falling for her hard, fast, and completely against my better judgment. The days without Lily were a slow bleed. My apartment felt too big, too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I threw myself into work, sketching logos until my hands cramped. But every line reminded me of her, the curve of her smile, the sharp edge of her defiance. Port Haven buzzed with its usual rhythm, fishermen hauling lobster traps, kids chasing gulls on the beach. But I was stuck, replaying that kiss. Her note, the way she'd looked at me like I was both her anchor and her storm. I wanted to find her, to shake her and ask why she'd run. But Jenna's words echoed, give her space. So I waited, even as it tore me apart. A week later, I saw her. I was grabbing coffee at the Daily Grind when she walked in. Her hair pulled back, her eyes shadowed. She froze when she saw me, and for a moment, I thought she'd bolt. But she didn't. She walked over, sliding into the chair across from me like nothing had happened. Hey, she said, her voice soft, like she was testing the waters. Hey, I replied, my heart hammering. You okay? She shrugged, fiddling with a sugar packet. Define okay. I wanted to push, to demand answers, but her eyes stopped me. They were tired, not just from lack of sleep, but from caring too much for too long. You don't have to tell me, I said finally. Just, don't disappear again. She looked at me then, really looked, and I saw something flicker, regret, maybe, or something softer. I saw Mia, she said, her voice barely audible. She's different now. Sober. Stable. She wants to try again. My stomach dropped. And you? What do you want? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. I don't know, Riley. I'm a mess. You deserve better than that. Don't tell me what I deserve. I snapped, louder than I meant. Heads turned, but I didn't care. You don't get to decide that for me. Her eyes widened, and for a second, I thought she'd run again. But she stayed, her hand still on mine. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice breaking. I'm scared I'll hurt you. I wanted to tell her I was scared too, that I'd never felt this way about anyone, that she was worth the risk. But before I could, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face changed, hardened, like she was slipping back into her armor. It's Mia, she said, standing. I have to go. Lily, I started, but she was already halfway to the door. I sat there, my coffee growing cold, feeling like I'd lost something I didn't even know I had. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing her face, hearing her voice. I grabbed my sketchbook, drawing her over and over, her eyes, her hands, the bird tattoo on her collarbone. It was like I could keep her close if I got the lines just right. But it wasn't enough. The next morning, I found her at the pier again, alone this time, staring at the water. She didn't hear me approach, and for a moment, I just watched her. The wind tugged at her hair, and she looked so small, so breakable, but so fiercely alive. Lily, I said softly, and she turned, startled. Talk to me, please. She sighed, wrapping her arms around herself. Mia wants me back, Riley. She says she's changed, and part of me wants to believe her. But then I look at you, and she trailed off, her eyes glistening. And what? I pressed, stepping closer. And I feel like I'm betraying you, she whispered. Like I'm betraying myself. My heart stopped. I reached for her, but she stepped back, shaking her head. I need time, she said. I'm not good for you right now. I wanted to argue, to tell her she was everything I wanted, flaws and all. But I saw the pain in her eyes, the war she was fighting with herself. So I nodded, even though it felt like giving up. "I'll be here," I said. "When you're ready." She gave me a small, sad smile, then walked away, her figure blurring in the morning mist. I stood there, the waves crashing below, and realized I was in love with her. Not the idea of her, not the girl she used to be, but the woman she was now, broken, beautiful, and fighting to find her way. The next few days were torture. I didn't hear from her, and Jenna didn't know where she was either. I kept busy, designing a new logo for a local bookstore, but my heart wasn't in it. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was her, but it never was. Then, one night, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Lily, soaked from the rain, her eyes red-rimmed but clear. "I told Mia no," she said, her voice steady. "I don't want her. I want—" She stopped, taking a shaky breath. "I want you, Riley. If you'll have me." I didn't think. I pulled her inside, kissing her like she was air and I was drowning. She kissed me back, her hands clutching my shirt, and for the first time, I felt like we were both exactly where we were meant to be. Lily's words hung in the air, raw and unshakable, as we stood in my apartment, rain dripping from her hair onto the floor. I kissed her again, slower this time, savoring the way she leaned into me, like she was finally letting go. But even in that moment, a small voice in my head whispered, "This isn't the end of the storm." We spent the night talking, tangled in each other on the couch, the world outside forgotten. She told me about Mia, how she'd shown up with apologies and promises, how Lily had almost fallen for it. But it wasn't real, she said, her head resting on my shoulder. Not like this. I wanted to believe her, to trust that this was our beginning. But I knew Lily. She was a tide, pulling in and out, and I wasn't sure I could survive being caught in her current. Still, I held her close, her heartbeat steady against mine, and let myself hope. The next morning, we walked to the diner, hand in hand, the town waking up around us. People stared. Port Haven wasn't exactly a bastion of progress, but I didn't care. Lily's fingers tightened in mine, and I felt invincible. We ordered pancakes, and she stole half of mine, laughing when I pretended to be mad. It was so normal, so perfect. It almost scared me. But normal didn't last. That afternoon, Jenna showed up at my apartment, her face a mix of relief and suspicion. "You didn't tell me she was back," she said, glancing at Lily, who was sprawled on the couch with one of my sketchbooks. "Didn't know I needed to check in," Lily shot back. But there was no venom in her voice. She was trying. Could tell. For me. Jenna pulled me into the kitchen, her voice low. "Riley, what's going on? You're different. Both of you." I hesitated, then told her the truth about the kiss, about Lily choosing me, about the way my heart was now tethered to her sister's. Jenna's eyes widened, then softened. "Be careful," she said. She's not easy to love." "I know," I said. "But I do." Jenna hugged me, but I could feel her worry, heavy as the fog rolling in from the sea. She left, promising to check in later, and I turned to find Lily watching me, her expression unreadable. "You told her," she said. Not a question. "She's my best friend," I said. "And your sister. She deserves to know." Lily nodded, but something flickered in her eyes. Doubt. Maybe. Or fear. "What if I screw this up?" she asked, her voice small. Then we'll fix it, I said, sitting beside her. Together. For a while. Felt like we could. We fell into a rhythm. Mornings sketching while she wrote poetry. Afternoons walking the beach. Evenings curled up watching movies. She was still a wildfire. But I was learning to dance in her flames. I started to believe we could build something real. Something lasting. Then Mia came back. It was a Friday. The air thick with the promise of rain. I was at the bookstore, finalizing their logo, when Lily texted me, "Meet me at the pier." Now, my stomach twisted. I drove too fast, the truck rattling over the uneven roads, and found her standing at the edge, Mia beside her. Mia was everything Lily wasn't: polished, confident, her blonde hair perfectly styled. She was older, maybe 30, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Riley," she said, like we were old friends. "Nice to finally meet you." I ignored her, focusing on Lily. "What's going on?" Lily's eyes were stormy, her hands clenched. "Mia showed up at the diner. Said she needed to see me." I made a mistake. Mia cut in, stepping closer. I let her go, and I've regretted it every day. My blood boiled. "You don't get to do this," I said, my voice low. "You don't get to waltz back in and mess with her head." Mia's smile faltered, but she didn't back down. "This isn't about you, Riley. It's about us." "There is no us," Lily snapped, her voice cutting through the tension. She turned to Mia, her eyes blazing. "You broke me, Mia. You don't get to come back and act like it never happened." Mia reached for her, but Lily stepped back, closer to me. "I'm with Riley now," she said, and my heart swelled even as it ached. "I choose her." Mia's face hardened, but she didn't argue. She left, her heels clicking on the wooden planks, and I felt Lily tremble beside me. I wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "You okay?" I asked. "No," she admitted, her voice muffled against my shoulder. "But I will be." That night, we didn't talk about Mia. We didn't need to. We made love for the first time, slow and careful, like we were mapping each other's scars. Afterward, she traced the lines of my sketches, her fingers steady. "I'm staying," she whispered. "For real this time." I believed her. I had to. But as I held her, the wind howling outside, I couldn't shake the feeling that the storm wasn't over. The weeks after Mia's departure were a fragile kind of peace. Lily and I settled into something resembling a life together. Our days woven with small, quiet moments, her writing at my kitchen table, me sketching her profile as the morning light spilled through the window. But beneath the surface, I felt the undercurrent of her past, waiting to pull us under. Lily was trying God. She was trying. She started attending a local writing group, her poems sharp and raw, cutting through the room like a blade. I went to one of her readings, sitting in the back of the community center, my chest tight with pride. She stood at the podium, her voice steady, reading about storms and survival, and I knew she was writing about us. When she finished, the room clapped, but her eyes found mine, and that was all that mattered. Still, there were cracks. She'd wake up some nights, gasping, her hands clutching the sheets. "Just a dream," she'd say, but I knew it was Mia, or the drugs, or the years of feeling like she wasn't enough. I'd hold her until she fell back asleep, but I couldn't shake the fear that I wasn't enough either. One evening, we were walking the beach, the sand cool under our feet. The sky was a bruise of purple and orange, and Lily was quieter than usual. "You ever think about the future?" she asked, kicking at a shell. "All the time," I said, watching her. "You?" She stopped, looking out at the waves. "I didn't. Not for a long time. Thought I'd burn out before I got there. But now," she turned to me, her eyes soft. "I want a future, Riley. With you." My heart stuttered. I pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "Then we'll make one," I said, and for the first time, I believed it was possible. But Port Haven had other plans. The next day, I got a call from Jenna. "Riley, you need to see this," she said, her voice tight. She sent me a link to a local gossip blog, Small Towns and Their Drama. There was a photo of Lily and Mia at the pier, taken the day Mia showed up. The caption read, "Trouble in Paradise. Local bad girl spotted with ex." My stomach churned. It wasn't true, not the way they meant it, but the photo was real. And it hurt. I showed it to Lily, expecting her to laugh it off. But her face paled. "I didn't know anyone was watching," she said, her voice small. "It's just gossip," I said, trying to sound calm. "It doesn't mean anything." But it did. The town was small, and rumors spread like wildfire. People started whispering at the diner, at the bookstore, even at the gas station. Lily noticed, and I saw her retreating, her old defenses snapping back into place. She stopped going to the writing group, stopped writing altogether. I tried to reach her, but she was slipping away, and I didn't know how to stop it. One night, I came home to find her packing a bag. My heart stopped. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I can't stay here," she said, not looking at me. "Not with everyone judging me. Judging us." "Lily." "No," I said, stepping in front of her. "This is our home. We're stronger than this." She laughed, bitter and broken. "Are we? Because I feel like I'm dragging you down with me." I grabbed her hands, forcing her to look at me. "You're not. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." Her eyes filled with tears, and she pulled away. "I need to go, Riley. Just for a while. I need to figure out who I am without all this noise." I wanted to fight, to beg her to stay. But I saw the resolve in her eyes. She wasn't running from Mesh, was running from herself. So I let her go, my heart breaking as she walked out the door, her bag slung over her shoulder. The next few days were a blur. I barely ate, barely slept. Jenna tried to help, but she was as lost as I was. "She'll come back," she said, but it sounded like a prayer, not a promise. Then, one morning, I found a letter in my mailbox. No return address. It was Lily's handwriting, jagged and hurried. "Riley, I'm in Boston. I'm okay, but I need time. I love you. I'm sorry." I read it over and over, my hands trembling. She was gone, but she was alive, and she loved me. It wasn't enough, but it was something. I threw myself into work, sketching until my hands ached, trying to drown out the silence. But every design, every line, was her. I drew the pier, the ocean, the bird on her collarbone. I drew us, the way we'd been before the world got in the way. Weeks passed, then months. I didn't hear from her, but I didn't stop hoping. I kept her letter on my nightstand, a reminder that she was out there, fighting her demons. And I was here, waiting, believing in the future we'd promised each other. The seasons changed in Port Haven. the leaves falling, then blooming again. But the whole lily left didn't fade. I carried her letter like a talisman, rereading it until the creases threatened to tear. Every day. Checked my phone, my mailbox, the pier, hoping for a sign she was coming back. Jenna tried to keep me grounded, dragging me to trivia nights at the Rusty Anchor. But even she couldn't hide her worry. She's always been like this, she said one night, stirring her coffee, running when it gets hard. But she loves you, Riley. I know she does. I nodded. But love wasn't enough if she wasn't here. I kept working, my designs sharper, darker, each one a piece of the ache I couldn't voice. The bookstore logo I'd finished was a hit, and I got more clients. But success felt hollow without her. One spring morning, I was sketching at the pier when I heard her voice, still drawing me. I froze, my pencil hovering over the page. There she was, Lily, standing a few feet away, her hair shorter, her eyes brighter. She looked different, steadier, like she'd found something in Boston she'd been missing. Lily, I breathed, standing. I wanted to run to her, to hold her, but I was afraid she'd vanish again. You're back. For now, she said, a small smile playing on her lips. Can we talk? We walked to the beach, the sand crunching under our shoes. She told me about Boston, how she'd found a therapist, a job at a bookstore, a tiny apartment with a view of the city. I needed to fix myself, she said, her voice steady. Not for you, not for Jenna, but for me. I listened, my heart a tangle of relief and fear. And now? I asked, stopping to face her. Why are you here? She took a deep breath. Her eyes locked on mine. Because I love you, Riley. And I'm ready to try again. If you'll let me. I wanted to believe her. But the months apart had left scars. You left, I said, my voice breaking. You didn't even call. I know, she said, stepping closer. I was scared I'd fail you again. But I'm not running anymore. I'm here. And I'm staying. I searched her face, looking for the girl who'd run. But all I saw was the woman she'd become stronger. Sure. Still a wildfire, but one that burned with purpose. I reached for her hand, and she laced her fingers through mine, her touch grounding me. We spent the day together, catching up, laughing, rediscovering each other. She showed me her new poems, raw and beautiful, and I showed her my sketches, the ones I'd drawn to keep her close. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and for the first time, I felt like we were on the same page. That night, we went back to my apartment, and it felt like coming home. We made love, not with the urgency of before, but with a quiet certainty, like we were promising each other something unbreakable. Afterward, she traced the lines of my face, her eyes soft. I'm not going anywhere, she whispered. But life doesn't let you rest. The next morning, I woke to a text from Jenna. Check the blog. My heart sank. Another post, this time with a photo of Lily and me at the pier yesterday. The caption read, back together. Or just another fling. Lily saw it too, her face hardening. I'm so tired of this, she said, tossing her phone onto the couch. Why can't they leave us alone? Because they're small-minded, I said, pulling her close. But we're bigger than this. We're bigger than them. She nodded, but I could see the doubt creeping back. I knew we had to fight for this, for us, and I was ready. But was she? The next few weeks were a test. The gossip didn't stop, And neither did the stairs. Lily threw herself into her writing, publishing a poem in a local literary magazine. And I cheered her on, but I could feel her pulling back. Just a little. I tried to be patient, to give her space. But the fear was always there that she'd run again, that I'd lose her for good. One evening, we were at the diner when a group of locals started whispering, their eyes on us. Lily's jaw tightened, and I knew she was seconds from snapping. I grabbed her hand under the table. "Let's get out of here," I said. We drove to the pier, the place that had become our refuge. The stars were out, the air cool and sharp. "I hate this town sometimes," she said, her voice low. "But I love you, Riley. That's what keeps me here." "Then stay," I said, turning to her. "Stay for me. Stay for us." She looked at me, her eyes fierce and clear. "I will," she said, and for the first time, I believed her completely. Lily's promise at the pier felt like a vow, one we both intended to keep. But promises, even the truest ones, are tested by time. Port Haven didn't let us forget that. We built a life together, piece by careful piece. Lily got a part-time job at the bookstore, her poems gaining traction online. I took on bigger design projects. My work featured in a regional art show. We were growing, not just as a couple, but as people, learning to trust each other's rhythms. Yet, the town's whispers never fully stopped. Every glance, every hushed comment, was a reminder that we were different, that our love was something they couldn't understand. One summer evening, we decided to fight back not with anger, but with truth. Lily suggested we host an open mic night at the community center, a space for anyone to share their stories, their art, their hearts. I was skeptical. Port Haven wasn't known for embracing change, but Lily's fire was contagious. "Let's show them who we are," she said, her eyes blazing. "Let's show them love." We spent weeks planning, spreading the word through flyers and social media. Jenna helped, her support unwavering despite her own fears for us. The night arrived, the community center packed with faces, some friendly, some curious, some hostile. My stomach churned as I stood at the back, watching Lily take the stage. She read a poem about us, about the pier, about the storms we'd weathered. Her voice was steady, her words cutting through the room like light through fog. "Love doesn't ask for permission," she said, her eyes finding mine. "It just is." The room was silent, then erupted in applause. Not everyone, but enough. I felt tears prick my eyes, not just for her, but for us, for what we'd fought for. I went up next, sharing my sketches, each one a piece of our story. I wasn't a poet, but I spoke from the heart, telling the crowd how Lily had changed me, how love had changed me. By the end, even some of the skeptics were nodding, their faces softer. It wasn't a miracle, but it was a start. After that night, things shifted. Not everyone accepted us, but the whispers grew quieter, the stares less sharp. We weren't just Riley and Lily. The town's scandal. We were Riley and Lily, the couple who loved fiercely, who refused to hide. We kept hosting open mic nights, each one drawing a bigger crowd, each one a small rebellion against judgment. But the real test came a year later, when Lily got an offer to publish her poetry collection. It meant moving to Boston, where the publisher was based. She showed me the email, her hands trembling. "This is my dream," she said, her voice soft. "But I won't go without you." I froze, the weight of her words sinking in. Leaving Port Haven meant leaving Jenna, my clients, the life I'd built. But staying meant letting Lily go. And I couldn't do that, not again. I'm in, I said, my voice steady. Wherever you go, I go. We moved to Boston that fall. Our new apartment, small but ours, filled with books and sketches and the sound of Lily's laughter. The city was loud, chaotic, but it gave us space to breathe, to be us without the weight of a small town's eyes. Lily's book came out, dedicated to me, and I cried when I read the inscription to Riley. My home, my heart. Life wasn't perfect. We fought sometimes over money, over dishes, over the way I'd leave my sketchbooks everywhere. But we always came back to each other, our love a tether that held through every storm. Jenna visited often, her pride in us brighter than the city lights. And when we went back to Port Haven for holidays, we walked the pier hand in hand, unafraid. Looking back, I think about that rainy night when I found Lily at the Rusty Anchor. How I thought I was just helping a friend's sister. I didn't know then that she'd become my everything, that our love would rewrite my life. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't always pretty, but it was ours, and it was worth every moment. As I sit here now, watching Lily write at our kitchen table, her hair catching the morning light, I know one thing for sure. Love doesn't come with a map, but it's the only journey that matters. We chose each other, again and again, and that choice changed everything forever.